Welcome back to TribPreps video series. Done with second round of the playoffs tonight in Wisconsin and another round of playoffs in Minnesota. So we're going to chat about some things that we saw tonight and some things that happened that we weren't at. But I'm Todd Sommerfeldt, Lacrosse Tribune. We have Eric Lee here. We were both out at games tonight. So let's start just by going through the score list really quick. Not so many games tonight, so it'll go fast. Division 2, we had Hartford beating Holman 26-0. Division 5, GET over Aquinas 38-0. I was there. We'll talk about that. Prairie du Chien gets a 28-14 win over Arcadia. Division 7, Bangor wins 28-0 over Pep and Alma. Eric was there. We'll chat about it. Turtle Lake beats Blair Taylor 44-6 over Minnesota. Caledonia gets a 27-7 win over Chatfield. And Grand Meadow takes out Houston 35-0. So Caledonia, GET, Prairie du Chien, and Bangor are all advancing and getting games next week. We'll have an all-local matchup, GET and Prairie du Chien. That'll be in Galesville next Friday. After those results, Bangor will host Turtle Lake in a game, and then Caledonia will be playing Pipestone in Rochester. And if you follow Caledonia, you know that they have a rivalry with Pipestone and have played them a couple of times in state championship games. So let's start with your game. We'll go to D7 right away. As you said before you're going to the game tonight, you were pretty impressed with all the shutouts that Bangor has, and they get another one here. Talk a little bit about the strategy Pep and Alma tried and how well it worked.
Yeah, so they definitely tried to employ a let's keep the ball out of Bangor's hands as much as possible strategy, knowing that you've got a potent backfield, the Cardinals do. So they were pretty successful early on. Their first drive of the game ate up almost the entirety of the first quarter, more or less, after Bangor scored on the opening possession of the game, but they weren't able to get anything out of it. So, I mean, they were still in a 7-0 hole after, they march like 60-some yards and chew up 9 minutes of clock, and they get nothing out of it, which can be kind of deflating.
But I mean, it's good strategy, though. You just have to finish enough of them, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean,
they couldn't finish any.
Yeah, Muhlenberg said after the game, possessions were at a premium. They were. Each team only had 6 possessions tonight, and that's Bangor. I mean, when they're usually scoring, 40, 50 points a game. I mean, that's how many times they're scoring a game, let alone how many times they have the ball.
They get that in a half.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely a little bit different animal. So it was kind of rough going, Bangor's offense trying to get its footing early on, just because they didn't have the ball to really get that footing. They're still able to score twice in the first half, and the second half got 2 quick turnovers, 2 picks, and then they turned those into points. I think the offensive line was really wearing down Pep and Alma's defense, and they were just grinding. And then they were able to rattle off fairly long touchdown runs, 44 and 43 yards as Horseman and Osterley there in the second half. So they were able to kind of run away with it. And you said, too, the shutout, 6 straight shutout, 8 total shutouts on the year. They've let up 28 points total for the year.
It's pretty incredible what they did over there, isn't it? Anything stand out to you about the offensive line? Other than just being dominant?
No, they were just grinding. And that's, talking to players and coaches after the game, that's what they all said is, doesn't matter if we start slow, we're just going to grind, and we're going to, as soon as we feel like we can pounce, we're going to pounce. And they've got the ability to do that. They take great pride, offensive and defensive line, really. They're potent. They were able to get out on the edge a lot too. They kind of figured that out at the end of the first half. They loved to run that power out there on the outside and get those backs into space, and they were able to do that tonight, especially in the second half.
What was Pep and Alma able to do to keep those drives going?
Their running back was really, really solid. He stood about 6 foot, like 190. He's just a big guy. I believe they would line him up at fullback, and they would do a lot of leads for him too. Even they're just throwing bodies at Bangor, and then give the ball to your biggest back and let him kind of turn up yards. Muhlenberg said after the game that he had entered the game. Each game he had rushed for over 100 yards. He eclipsed that again tonight, but they were able to, obviously, they didn't break, so that was good. But he was a good back. He gave them some fits, and they were definitely leaning on him for a lot of their yardage.
Yeah, he averaged a lot of yards. But he was pretty consistent this year. It seemed like everything when I looked at their games, everything was almost like between 140 and 170 yards. So they obviously figured out a good way to use him and kind of kept that consistent week to week.
Yeah, it was just those early turnovers that kind of bit Pep on the.
Always does.
Yeah.
Always does. Well, I was over at GET tonight, so we can move on to that one. Bangor, again, by the way, as I said before, now hosts Turtle Lake, which pounded Blair Taylor. I mean, Turtle Lake plays some good games, has some losses, but I think they beat Clear Lake, which is a good win for them to get. I think Clear Lake's been, I don't know if they're certainly not as powerful this year as they have been recently, but that's been a really good team as of late. So they've got some good wins coming into it. We'll see how that matchup will go with Bangor. Going back out to Galesville, boy, Luke Vance is good. This is my first chance to see him. And he had 290 yards, 21 carries, 3 touchdowns. And GET really kind of, Aquinas hung around, and 16-0 at the half. They come out, Aquinas gets the ball, they get a good return. They eventually get stuffed. They decide to go for a fake punt, get the first down, move all the way down to the goal line. They get, I think it was 3rd and goal from the 7. They had a 6-yard run to the 1. They tried to rush everybody to the line and get the snap off and try and catch GET off guard. GET stuffs them, and 3 plays later, Vance goes 87 yards for a touchdown. And Bryce Burns had a couple of tough runs to get him out of trouble there, backed up against their own end zone. But that Vance 87-yarder was like the backbreaker for Aquinas, I think. They had trouble completing passes tonight. They were intercepted 4 times, once in the end zone. They tried it. Both quarterbacks played tonight in the game. So Flatmeyer got some good experience, and that kid's going to be good. I mean, there wasn't anything special. He made some nice throws today, but he was in a one-sided game, so it's kind of tough to get a real good gauge. But you could just kind of see the way he moves. He's going to be a good quarterback. But anyway, so that 87-yarder really kind of hurt Aquinas really bad in that one, and they weren't able to recover. So GET moves on, and as we see now, they get Prairie du Chien, which beat Arcadia. and
you've seen both those teams. You've seen GET and Prairie du Chien.
I saw Prairie du Chien week 1 against Aquinas, and it was one of those games. Both teams played well defensively, but I wasn't all that impressed what I saw offensively either way. But that was August. So it's November now, so the teams are different, and Prairie du Chien's been fantastic since then. A little surprised that they needed a couple of late touchdowns to win that game.
Yeah, it was 14-14 early in the 4th quarter.
It was. Arcadia tied it up. They had a kick return, I think, to get within 14-8. And then scored again. But as I was leaving Galesville, Prairie du Chien went ahead, and then they added another touchdown after that. So we'll see how that matchup goes. GET they're big, they're powerful, and they're fast. And that's going to be a tough thing for Prairie du Chien to deal with for an entire game. We'll see how that goes. But I would have to think, well, I can't even really say that. I would say, because I got GET fresh on the mind right now.
Sure.
I don't want to say that they're the favorite yet. We'll see what happens this week, and as we do some research on that. But obviously Prairie du Chien has real dangerous offense with Dylan Coleman being able to throw the ball, Mason Kramer, great receiver, Ben Ritter, another great receiver that they have there, and you got Truck Hannah on the ball, and the Saint brothers. So they have a lot of offensive weapons themselves. So I think that ought to be a good game, and then we have someone in the semifinals for sure.
What did you think then about GET defensively then tonight? I mean, you mentioned the turnovers obviously, but
they have 4 interceptions. That was good. Aquinas hung in there and really stuck with the game plan. One thing I think that hurt him was Will Cameo not being able to play offense. Broke his hand. He was only able to play defense tonight, and he played defense and did a good job there. Aiden Lee didn't finish the game either, so he got hurt. And as I said, they used both quarterbacks because Wetzel's a little banged up too. So Aquinas is pretty banged up, but GET, I thought, played their best when Aquinas threatened, and that didn't happen very often. But but when Aquinas managed to get to the red zone, GET really, I don't want to say changed course, but they really, I don't know if it was just a focus thing or
Sure.
what, but once that happened, once they felt that threat, they snuffed it out in a hurry. So I was impressed, and Bryce Burns, man, he is a good linebacker, and I know he has been for a couple of years, but he really played a good game tonight. He had over 100 rushing yards, but his play on defense was amazing. There weren't a whole lot of times where GET didn't really know what was coming.
Yeah,
I think they had that figured out, and sometimes Aquinas just executed very well. They knew the fake punt was coming, but Aquinas still got it.
Sure.
So, but I think especially with Mr. Burns there playing linebacker, it's a very good defense, and we've seen that throughout the year with the shutouts and stuff they've had. But getting a shutout here, and you don't see a ton of it in terms of. I think a lot of people thought this had the potential to be a good game. Had Aquinas not fallen behind right away, it would have been different.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of team that's going to come back from deficits. So I think if Aquinas would have been able to get something early, they could have made it a game. But GET with Vance, anytime he gets the ball, he could be gone.
Yeah.
And Burns could be the same way, except he's going to run people over.
Yeah.
Vance is going to run away from him and get through him.
Yeah.
Find the little hole. And as he said tonight, all he saw were holes every time he got the ball. Offensive line was pretty dominant for them. So,
Do you want to move to D2?
Yeah, a little surprised.
Yeah.
And not a little, a lot surprised at Holman with, what did we say they had? How many yards?
They had 24 yards of offense on 37 plays.
Yeah.
That's 0.6 yards per play.
So unlike Holman.
Yeah.
But, they put the ball on the ground too. That's been an Achilles heel for him this year.
Yep.
That hurt. I was saying before that running that triple option might be an advantage for them since Hartford doesn't see it, but Hartford obviously figured it out.
Yeah.
They had a good defense, so it's just something new for them to work on for the week, I guess, and they certainly figured out how to do it. I really thought Holman had a chance. I thought with the weather,
because
everything, it would really help.
Passing team,
but they weren't tonight.
Yeah,
they found a way to run,
yeah.
and that's surprising to me that they were able to run on Holman the way they did.
Yeah.
But Holman had a chance early in the game to go and take the lead. They botched. I think they had a penalty. They botched a field goal attempt and lost a bunch of yards on that.
Yeah, they forced 3 turnovers tonight too, and not able to capitalize on those either.
Yeah, well, if you're getting
if you're getting 0.6 yards per carry.
0.6, yeah, you're not going to go far. So, as Alex Van Hilton was at the game, and I was reading his story, and as the Holman people were saying, give credit to Hartford. They were 1 seed, undefeated, beat Mequon Homestead this year, so it was a legit team. But I just thought Holman would have a chance, and last week we all thought Alaska would win, and so. We can think what we want going into games, but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to turn out that way. So, but a good season for Holman. This might be the most disappointing loss out of all of them, I would think, because the others, they kind of put their finger on one thing, and this, it seems like a lot of things just went wrong for them. So, let's see, Caledonia, as I said. Another big game for Noah King.
Yeah, he had 12 catches. Well, excuse me. Yeah, Noah had a big game too. He threw for 171 and 3 touchdowns, and then had 117 on the ground. But Eli had 12 catches for 167 yards and 3 touchdowns. So
it's amazing how they can just kind of turn that on.
Yeah, and they played excellent on the defensive side of the ball. They held Chatfield to 107 yards of offense, and they're moving on.
Yeah, exactly. And Noah, I think, had 5 or 6 touchdowns, or responsible for 5 or 6 touchdowns last week.
Yeah.
So really showing what he can do, and boy, what a good time to start playing like that. Going to the state quarterfinals, the 6th year in a row in the state tournament for Caledonia. I think it was like the 13th time since 2005.
Really?
They've been in the state tournament. So at state tournament is quarterfinals there. So they'll play in Rochester. I think it was in Rochester next Friday, and then if they can win that one, it's back to US Bank. for a semifinal the following week. So Caledonia just keeps rolling. But I think that'll do it for us tonight. You'll see all the stories. We have videos from the games we were at, lots of photos from Peter Thompson, from Galesville tonight, all on lacrossetribune.com, all on our Facebook feed. You can go to our YouTube channel and see some of the videos on their own if you'd like to do that. But we'll have a lot more football coming next week with all the games that we have here. And we'll be back on Thursday to preview the next round of games. So thanks for being with us.